It's a little bit chilly this morning. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you guys everything you need to know about living in a minivan. I lived in this minivan for 8 months. And I'll tell you all the pros and the cons. Most mornings started exactly like this. A little bit chilly. And it's a race to the driver's seat to turn the vehicle on and to get some heat in here. So let's do that first. Want to apologize, you may or may not know the difference. This Rode mic just broke on me. So this is just the camera microphone that you're hearing right now. Hopefully that's good enough for today's video. There we go. Turn that off for now. All right, so there she is. I made my bed this morning and everything. I actually didn't sleep in my van last night. For those new to the channel, I just bought a house and I don't want to sleep another night on some side street. So I just came up here. My hair is even done. That didn't usually happen living in this van. But I just came to my parking spot that I would park at all the time. So let's start the video. Everything you need to know. The first two questions I always get asked. Number one is, where do you park? Number two, where do you shower and use the go to the washroom? So let me show you where I usually park. Just gonna slip my shoes on, which I always leave up here. So when I hop in the back, I just slip them off, put them on the passenger side. And in today's video, I'm gonna show you the van. But if you'd like some more in-depth video of the van, I do have a full van tour. My 2003 Honda Odyssey in full and everything I've got going on back here to make it somewhat livable. Alright, let's show you. It's raining, so we'll be quick. How about we just, we'll do one of these. Alright. Along this row of cars is where I would sneak in and park. Anywhere along that whole row. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but there's a tow truck company in town that uses that space to park vehicles. You saw that they are all backed in. So I had quite the scare one night when I saw a bunch of lights and a reverse beeper back up right next to me. I thought I was about to get towed, but they were towing the vehicle right next to mine, and so I jumped out of bed. I'm like, oh no, I'm getting towed. And I looked out the window and they were towing the vehicle next to me. So that's how I found that out. It only happened a few times. Most of the time I had quite a quiet night there. So I'm at one of my hangout spots that I would come to after work. I wouldn't stay at my sleeping spot and just hang out. That was kind of a spot that I would roll up there at about 10 p.m. and shut her down for the night. I had two other hangout spots. This is one of them. Very secluded little area at the end of a parking lot. And I'll show you the other one in a little bit. But we're on to the second big question, showering and washroom. And I've said this a million times, but I'll say it a million more. This is my pee bottle. I would use that or use public washrooms to use the washroom, and for a shower, I would shower at Anytime Fitness. They have real nice big showers there. So those are the two main questions. And I guess the third main question would be temperature. How do you live in a van when it's cold? How do you live in a van when it's hot? Well, I am so fortunate. Let's lock the doors and crawl back there. I am so fortunate. That's how it's done right there. That's why I wore sweatpants. I am so fortunate that I live here in British Columbia. So it rarely goes past below 0 degrees Celsius, and it rarely goes above 30 degrees Celsius. So when it is a little chilly, midway through the night, sometimes, yes, I would have to get out of bed, start the car for 15 minutes, get some heat going, and then shut it off. Most of the time, I just had a few blankets, like this duvet here. And I also had another blanket, which is now in my house. And I could usually make it through the night. Plus 2 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's cold, but it's doable. You wake up quite cold and you run to the front seat to start the vehicle, but it is doable. And if I did start at in the middle of the night, I did have a CO detector, and usually I would just start it for 15 minutes. And they've got these heat ports right here that's blowing hot air right now, and so you could just sit back here, get warm, and then shut it off and go back to bed. Now, a little bit of a trickier situation is, that's on, that's unlocked. Is when it's really hot. It almost sucked more when it was extremely hot out. Because you can't escape it unless you run the vehicle, and you're not going to be running the vehicle all day long to run the air conditioning. So once again, it got up to 28 degrees, 29, maybe 30 degrees Celsius for a couple weeks in the summertime. And I would go find a place like this or my other spot, park under a tree, park under some shade, open both of the back doors, all of the windows, and it would be doable just to hang out. Catch-22 though is when you do that, you kind of lose some of your privacy. So say you're watching a movie on your laptop or trying to take a nap, I just kept fearing somebody like walking by and looking in. I know that people mind their own business, most of them, but you just lose your privacy. It's like having a nap out on a lawn chair in a public park is what it's like. So very fortunate to have the weather on my side. If I were anywhere else, say it got really cold in the winter times or really, really hot in the summer times, I don't think I could have done this setup. I think I would have to have more of an RV with a air conditioner and generator and insulation and all that kind of stuff. So that worked for me for the time that I did it. Now I'm going to show you my next spot that I would hang out. There's a million spots to hang out with a van this size, but I just found 2 of them that worked for me. And another big pro to both of these spots was that they had like an open Wi-Fi signal, so I could take Wi-Fi from these spots and connect my laptop and watch Netflix all day long if I wanted to. I had a day off and I just felt like laying around in the back of the van down by the river. Country road, take me home to a place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, Mountain Road. All right, this is my second spot. Let's bring my backpack back here. This is it, guys, right here. Oh. This is where I would spend the majority of my time. If I wasn't working, if I wasn't driving around, this is where I was. Whew, brings back some memories. All right, so let's continue with the questions. There's quite a bit of light back here. That's awesome. And look at that. I wrote some things I wanted to talk about down. Here's my laptop. There's a little 12-volt plug back here, which I showed you in my van tour. And so while I'm driving around, I'm charging my laptop, and then once I turn the vehicle off, unplug it, and I actually have Wi-Fi, and I would just watch movies on my laptop. I have Wi-Fi, if you can see, from That building right there is a church, and they have Wi-Fi. I even actually talked to the guy who, one of the guys who runs that church, and he said, yeah, you're more than welcome to take the Wi-Fi. That's what it's there for. So, awesome. And I did park in that church quite a few times. There's a big tree over there, so when it would get really hot, probably can't even see it, right there, and it provided some really nice shade. This one does okay right in front of me, but that one was really nice. And so I would park over there and open both my doors. But a lot of the times, especially where I live, it is a gloomy, rainy day like it is today. So, when I'm hanging out, like most people would be in their homes, in their kitchen, in their bedroom, in their living room, kitchen table, this is all I have for me. I just hang out back here, and that was not, I thought that would be one of the hardest parts of just having such a small space, but it's not. That was one thing that surprised me. It's very comfy. I got a comfy little bed here, and I can stack the pillows up back here and put my laptop wherever and just enjoy a good movie, or I was gonna say a book, but I never read one of these books. But mostly movies, or have a nap, or have my afternoon nap. All right, so let's talk about a few things, a couple of the best things about living in a van. And number one has to be money. I saved so much money living in a van. I didn't have rent. I didn't have expensive electric bills and water bills. All I had was this $2,300 minivan. It's $100 a month in insurance. It's say $100, depending on how far I drive, $100 a month in fuel, my phone bill, my food, and that's practically it. Now that will vary for everybody depending on how much stuff you have, or how expensive your van is, or if you have a payment on your RV or van or what have you. But I saved a lot of money in the 8 months that I lived in this, and I was quite frugal. So that is the big thing. Now with saving money comes, and with not having a lot of overhead, comes freedom, which is so nice. Because of this pandemic, if you lost your job, such as I did as a tour bus driver, I didn't have to worry about where my next paycheck was coming from. I had a lot of wiggle room because I didn't have those payments. Wiggle room and freedom, and you're able to just take a breath and try to figure out what you truly want to do, not based on money. Camera is slowly slipping off my dresser here. That works pretty good for a little camera stand. You can live absolutely everywhere, anywhere. So a couple times I took a trip up island, and so you pull over, you've got everything you need in this van. I've got my tools, I've got my laptop, I've got my cooler where I could keep food cold. I had everything I would ever need with me all the time. And a couple times I went over to the mainland to visit my family, and say I was on the ferry, for example, leaving Vancouver Island to ferry over to Vancouver. I could just hop in the back of my van and have a sleep. I could take a nap wherever. Say I was working somewhere and it was noon and I had an hour lunch, I could come back to my van and have a nap or hang out back here. It's just kind of cool that you have this space everywhere you go to relax. So those are a few positives, but I'm not gonna lie, there are a lot of negatives. And when I first started living in it, the positives outweighed the negatives. And every month they started to, I felt there were more negatives than positives, until the very end when I'm like, I cannot do another night in this thing. I just can't. So let's list off a couple of the negatives. We've already covered washrooms and showering. It's always a process to have a shower and use the washroom. It's never just easy. It's never just relaxing. You've always got to go into some crowded area to use those necessities. I didn't cook very much. I would just buy pre-made food, keep it cold in here, and then just eat a lot of food cold. Or I would do little snack tuna things. There's a bunch of dry food that you can eat. So it seems like there's a lot of bland food. Now I know you could change that. You could buy a pre-made dish and heat it up, but you don't feel like doing that a lot of the time. So I was anyways, eating a lot of the same food, and a lot of it cold. Can you hear that? There's people outside my van. I once had that door open right there, just cracked open a little bit, and someone put their head in thinking that I had left my door open and then went for a hike in this park. But so when she put her head in, I scared her because I was just laying here watching TV or a movie. And those are the little things. Those are the little things. So I'm like, no, sorry, I'm back here. And I just felt silly. So I got up, drove away. I mean, yeah, I could have got into the dating world. But COVID happened right when I started living in this van. And just kind of embarrassing to tell people you live in a van. So it kind of worked out good that way. Because for a year or 8 months I lived in it, well, COVID was going through its thing, so I wasn't, going to be talking to a bunch of people and getting back into dating. It just didn't make any sense, so I kind of took 8 months off of dating. As much as some people say, oh, it doesn't matter. Well, it does. It does. And even with friends, I had a friend come over from Vancouver to visit. And I said, well, I got nowhere for you to stay. Like, I live in a car. So we both got a hotel to make that trip a little bit more fun. No, I haven't been dating at all. This is actually interesting. I don't think I would have the confidence living in this van to start dating. It slowly kind of took my confidence away that way. Now, you may be saying to yourself, Taylor, where's all the drone shots? Where's the exciting part of when you take this out into the woods and you go camping and you hook your boat up and you're fishing and you're at a campsite and you've got a campfire right outside the door there? Where's that part of it? And yes, that's a huge part of it. But most of the time, you're going to just be in your van, unless you're super outdoorsy. So this is where you're going to be. And like I said before, it starts off great, it starts off fine, but these walls do slowly start to close in. They get tighter and tighter and tighter. And the worst parts were always the evenings for me. The mornings were fine, they were busy, you're either going to work or you're going to work out or you're going to go jump in the boat or go for adventure. But then it comes to the evening and you're alone, which I'm okay with, but it starts to feel like you don't have a life. It starts to feel like you're a little bit invisible. And the reason that there's not all these big drone shots on this video is I want you to feel what it really feels like. Like, this is it. You're around this van a lot of the time, or you're sitting in the back, or you're sitting up front, or you're walking around but it's somewhere near. It's just a lot of by the van, because if you think about it, when you're home, a lot of it's in the living room. Same thing. A lot of it's back here. So there are the four walls. There are the four walls that you get to see. And last but not least, security and safety. Having a place to park that you feel safe with means a ton. Now, I found that spot that I showed you earlier. I enjoyed it, but not like I ever felt 100% safe. After a few weeks of living in this van, one night, it was probably midnight, and every time somebody like walks by, say it's on the sidewalk, or a vehicle passes by, you know, they're a few feet from your head, or a motorcycle is cruising by, you jolt out of bed. So anyways, and I don't even know how good of a sleep you have. Some nights it felt like I did have a good sleep, but I just always feel subconsciously like I'm awake, like I'm listening for something. Sure enough, I heard some footsteps. I woke up and I heard gravel footsteps. And I heard somebody come up, and I could tell they were right outside because you can hear them. And I heard the door, like trying the door. And then I just heard footsteps walk away. And that kind of freaked me out. I'm sure that if somebody ever decided to try to get into this van and I announced myself, like, hey, they would be terrified because they would think there was nobody in the van to begin with, and they would run off. But you always have that in the back of your mind. And it would have been a bit of a different feeling if, say, you parked this in your own backyard or a friend's backyard or whatnot. But the whole living on a side street, you're always aware of your surroundings, and you don't ever feel 100% safe. And so when I first when I moved into my home, I told my mom, I'm super cozy. I absolutely love my place, and I feel safe at night was the big thing. And you're technically not allowed to be sleeping in your vehicle overnight. It's quite a gray area here in Victoria, but you're technically not allowed. So you're technically not allowed to be anywhere, and you have nowhere to go that feels like home. Until, of course, you buy a house or move into a place that does feel like home. And that is the biggest thing that I noticed when I moved into my house. It was the running water and the washroom and the shower and the fridge that kept your food cold. But the biggest thing was I now had a place to go that I felt safe and that I could hang out without worrying. There, safe, and didn't have to worry anymore. So I hope that you learned a few things about that video. I was gonna make a bunch of videos on the van. I was gonna make like 10 videos on the van, but I'm just kind of tired of talking about living on wheels. I'm ready for the next stage of my life. I'm ready for whatever comes next. So I kind of combined a bunch of videos into one video just to talk about everything. And soon we're going to get the boat out, and I'm going to do a bunch of restoration to it. I'm going to replace the transom. I'm going to get new seats. I'm going to paint it. I'm going to do a little bit of engine work. And then very shortly it should start getting nice. And we're going to get out on the water. So there it is, guys. Living in a minivan for 8 months. I hope that's everything you needed to know. I'm sure that if you try it out, your experience may be different than mine, but that's just how I felt. And would I do it again? Well, if I had to, money-wise, absolutely. But for fun? No. I am done living on side streets. Yes, I'll take this camping, but the whole side street stuff and the whole living in this thing full-time, I wouldn't do it unless I absolutely had to financially. So there it is. That is the end of the video. Guys, keep living that dream. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.